I hear all the time from you guys, is it too late? Is it too late for America, right? When are we doomed? And my answer, which I think is borne out by these texts, is always, it's not helpful to you to ask that question. You can't answer that question. And in some sense, it will only be answered in retrospect. Because of course, there's a sense in which, in the eyes of God, right, all events are happening at once. And, there's a tragic nature to life. That's what the Greeks understood. The tragedy of it is reflected in anacyclosis, the cycle of regimes, that things decay, people are venal, they don't continue with good things always die. And remember that that's a political philosophical attitude that comes just as much from the playwrights as from the historians, right? We read Aeschylus back in the day too. And Aeschylus is portraying the same hubris in Persians, which also becomes part of Herodotus' narrative. And, this wisdom, this kind of deep, tragic wisdom that looks upon the world and says, nothing gold can stay, essentially. So from that perspective, yes, of course, at some time, America is doomed, right? There's some point at which America is doomed, because all things are doomed, right? All human things will die until the final day, when all is resurrected, right? And all is redeemed. And so that tragic view of life is a real part of the view of life. And yet, at the same time, when you're flirting with despair, which I may remind you is a sin, right? When you're flirting with despair, you have to understand that you are not actually looking at history from the bird's eye view. You are in history, and you can't know. You can't know what the grand wheel of time is going to churn up. History never repeats itself. It only rhymes. And you, in your perspective, are absolutely endowed with free will, right? There are, of course, as Charles Spurgeon reminds us, there is a paradox of, free will and determinism, always irreducible in philosophy. Many arguments and many reams of paper spent have not resolved this paradox. And yet, you have a choice. You have a choice today what you're going to do. What are you going to say to your kids? Where are you going to take them? What are you going to show them? Right? What are you going to do? Are you going to go to the gym? Or are you going to sit on the couch? Are you going to watch Netflix? Or are you going to subscribe to the Daily Wire? These choices are yours, and they do have consequences, right? And your freedom is actually the only thing that's relevant to your decision. Because if you despair, right, over this grand theory of history that you have, not only might you be wrong, but it'll be a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Your despair will be part of the story that we tell in retrospect of how America fell, right? And so this is why despair is a sin. It's because it's impossible to escape from.